Hello, Buzz.
Let's see, good evening.
Well, good evening for me. What time is it for you?
It's noon here. It's high noon, so.
Oh, fantastic. And I bet the weather's good, too.
It's pretty nice. Not too cold. How about over there?
This is the UK, Buzz, and it's winter. It's cold, it's dark, it's wet. We're waiting for snow. We're waiting for thunder and lightning. It's like the end of the world.
Well, hey, I'm recording. I'm ready to go here, and it's good to talk to you. I read your book. I read War. I read WAR already earlier this year, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much for saying so.
And I picked up Chinese Democracy this past Sunday. I assume you've already heard it after all these years. What do you think?
I have. Well, it's impossible to listen to the album impartially, I think, because it comes with so much baggage. 13 years, $13 million, 400 million crazy stories. And I think because of all that, inevitably, it's a little bit of an anticlimax to finally hear the thing. I think there are maybe 5, maybe 6 really great tracks. I think there are maybe another 4 or 5 pretty good tracks. And then there's a couple that who knows what they're doing on there. I guess he just was trying to... I don't know, just do something a little bit different. But at the end of the day, Buzz, for me, in my mind, it's if I'm listening to an Axl Rose solo album, which is what this really is to me, then I find it a tremendously interesting piece of work. If I'm expected to believe this is the new Guns N' Roses album, then, frankly, I'm a little bit disappointed because, hey, where's Slash?
Yeah.
And if Mick Jagger went out tomorrow with 5 guys, no one even knew what they looked like, and he called it the Rolling Stones, we'd want to know where Keith is. We'd want to know where Charlie is. And that's the deal as far as I'm concerned with this album. I think it's a very interesting piece of work, but it ain't Guns N' Roses, not to me.
Yeah. Mick, it's been in my car. It's been the only thing I've been listening to. I've been listening to it nonstop. I really, really like it. And I agree with you totally that it's the Axl Rose solo album. But I have to defend Axl a little bit in the sense that I would think that if it were called Axl Rose Chinese Democracy, he wouldn't have all this press. He wouldn't have a Best Buy exclusive deal. He wouldn't have Rolling Stone fawning all over him. He wouldn't be able to go on a huge tour. It's a financial no-brainer, I think, for Axl, don't you?
Absolutely. I agree it's a financial no-brainer. But, we have a thing in this country, Buzz, called the Trades Description Act, which means that when you sell something, it has to be what you say it is. And for me, it's very, very difficult. The reason Appetite for Destruction was such a huge hit and why it made such a big difference was because of the chemistry involved with those 5 guys. It had echoes of Zeppelin at their best. It had echoes of the Stooges. There was some great punk, some great metal. There was a whole load of great things going on there. And I think with GNR Lies, they really showed that they were a tremendously interesting band. They could do the acoustic stuff. And then with the Use Your Illusion albums, although already they're now starting to shed members and Axl is taking more control, you can still hear, you can still smell a band. And I just think it's a tremendous shame that Axl has to make a very pragmatic decision, as you say. I'm not saying if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't do it. We all would love to see another 0 at the end of the check. but from a purely musical point of view, it just ain't Guns N' Roses. Is it a good record? As I said to you before, I think it's a tremendously interesting record. I think there are some amazing tracks on there. I just don't hear Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. I was really struck by the lyrics of the album. I don't pay a lot of attention to lyrics usually in music. I'm more a music guy. But on this album, I found the lyrics to be really interesting, and I really felt I got a glimpse of the mystery, the enigma of Axl Rose. And I really find the lyrics very readable as well as listenable. Do you, and the rumors are that there's albums and albums worth of material out there. And we've heard all these songs, a lot of them on the internet before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Axl has gone on record as saying, and this is in years gone by, he had at least 72 finished tracks. As recently as the beginning of 2006, when he was absolutely insisting the album was coming out that year, he was talking about having at least 3 albums worth of material available. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe a year down the line, maybe 2 years, who knows, if we don't have almost like a part 2 to this album, or certainly another collection of material that was recorded at the same time. On the other hand, the great thing about Axl, and the thing that I think keeps us so on our toes in terms of what is he going to do next, no one ever really knows what this guy is going to do next, and that's what makes it all so exciting, I think. When
he referred to you as Mick Wall from Kerrang, he wanted to get in the ring. Have you had any direct dealings with him over these past few years? Whatever happened with you and Axl with Kerrang? I didn't ever hear the backstory behind that.
I was living in West Hollywood, and this is in 1990, and at that particular time, I had been the go-to guy for all of Guns N' Roses in terms of press, radio, all kinds of stuff out. Anything outside the US to do with the media. I had a TV show, a radio show, and I used to do a lot of writing. I was the first guy to play the Welcome to the Jungle video, the first guy to play tracks from the Appetite album, even though on the radio, even though it was full of cuss words. It was a late night show, and I was able to get away with it at that time. They gave me a gold record for GNR Lives because I had been such a good friend. He called me up very late one night as I was hitting the sack. He was very upset about some comments Vince Neil of Motley Crue had made in Kerrang magazine, and he wanted me to get over to his apartment right away because he wanted to set the record straight. I went with his publicist. We arrived about 1 a.m. We left about 5 a.m. We did an extraordinary interview in which he offered to duke it out with Vince. He wanted it out there that he would meet with Vince wherever, whenever Vince wanted to do it. And a few weeks later, when I came to write the story up, it looked real heavy, what he was saying. So I called him on the phone. I taped this conversation also, and I read him what I had, the worst bits of it. And I said, look, this stuff sounds really heavy. You know, are you sure you still want to go ahead with this? And he laughed and he said, I stand by every single word, go right ahead. So I did, and within 2 weeks of the story appearing, as far as Axl Rose was telling the world, I had made the interview up, I had deliberately misquoted him, I was a complete a-hole, and the whole thing was my fault. And what I've been told subsequently is that the reason for that was that Vince called Axl on the offer, said he'd happy to meet him anywhere, anytime. In fact, 2 separate meetings were set up, one in the parking lot at the back of Tower on Sunset, which is now gone, of course, and Axl never showed. And my feeling is that Axl, because I don't know if you know Vince, but you know, Vince may not be the greatest singer in the world, but he was one tough cookie back in the day.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to hit him on the street unless you really, really knew what you were doing. And Axl, God bless him, is just a little guy. He's not a heavy dude. He's a writer, not a fighter, no matter how differently he likes to portray himself. And my feeling is that Axl, rather than back down, because he's never backed down, never really apologized for anything he's ever done, decided to shift the blame on me. And it broke my heart, Buzz. It absolutely broke my heart, because there had been many scenes I had witnessed over the years, troubled times, when individual members of Guns N' Roses came to me for advice and help, and I gave it to them, and I never wrote about those things, and I still have never wrote about those things, and I never will, because they were personal.